Good morning. It's Monday, once again. That means predictions. What do I think is going to happen in tonight's game? Well, before we get there, we have to figure out why people are trying to wander across my driveway. Alright, let's get out of this place. This new construction has made this so awkward. Designed by a chimpanzee on acid. Anyway, tonight's game. The crew have gathered back together after their foray towards the other side of things, closer to the Devilric invasion. They kind of have an idea what's going on as far as the Devil invasion now, and basically they've decided they've got a choice to make. Do they try to plane shift a group of them to Austerna? The pros, of course, being that they get there faster, they head off the Devil invasion. That's about all of the pros. The cons, of course, being that they get there without their ship, which could make getting out more of a challenge. They don't know what they're teleporting into, and it could be something that they want the rest of the crew there for. I mean, they don't know what's going to happen, so how do they know who stays and who goes? The other side of that, of course, being is that if most all of them leave, then the ship's a sitting duck. I mean, yeah, they've got magical guns that fire themselves, but you still have to have someone who can order them. Someone who can kind of direct the ship. And they're not in the nicest of places. And they also can't send the ship too far away, because if they do, then they won't be able to plane shift back to it. That's the tricky thing about plane shifting to a moving object, is it can be quite difficult if you don't have a good idea where it is. Yeah. Excuse me. I have a feeling that they're going to end up plane shifting. Before we get there, though, as we ended the last session, they had their three guests, Old Man Blade, the Cyclops, and, well, what we found out is the new PC, a Regon Cleric, on board. And just as they were getting back, Tiawin, who had stayed behind, had flagged down. She had noticed a group of giants traveling on the same path they were. Now, basically, they had let the ship drift off to the side and slowed so that the others could get back to them. They weren't traveling at speed, which is why these giants were passing them on their space chariots, basically. Giants are often known to use chariots to travel between the spheres that are pulled by dragons. Now, whether that is a partnership thing or a slavery thing depends on the situation. So they don't know the odds here. But they've flagged down a large fire giant with two smaller fire giants, And I believe the last one was an ice giant, frost giant. All of whom were heading in the same general direction they were heading. Which, I mean, if you look at the Spelljammer map, which I might just have to include a link to below, where they're at, the spheres kind of form a chain. So you kind of have to go through one to get to the next, and basically south is where they came from, north is the direction towards Osterna, and also towards the Devil Invasion. So it's enough of a hint to think maybe they're heading the same place. Maybe not. Who knows? So that conversation will happen first. They will very quickly discover that the fire giant, the large fire giant and the two smaller ones, it's a giant and his two sons. And basically they will find that he is the grandson of a fire titan. I've explained previously, the titans are like the original giants that are as far beyond giants as giants are beyond humans, if you think size and power wise. So he's the grandson of a fire titan. He knows that his grandfather spent years telling tales of Osterna. And when his grandfather died, and he won't really talk about how his grandfather died. That's going to be a subject that he will completely and totally dismiss. It's not something he will be willing to discuss. Because Titans are immortal. They don't die of age. So something had to have happened to his grandfather. But when his grandfather died, he was given a ring. And basically, it's been dormant for decades. It's just been a ring. And then suddenly, within the last few months, it's flared up. And it's basically been encompassed with an aura of magical fire. And while that's been the case, he has begun to feel a calling, a summons. And basically, he thinks that perhaps someone within his bloodline, someone within his family, is either calling him to try to reestablish contact. Perhaps his father. He doesn't actually know what happened to his father. Or on the other side, he thinks perhaps whoever originally used the rings may be trying to summon his grandfather, not knowing that obviously his grandfather is no longer living. And so if that's the case, he feels a duty to go and inform them that his grandfather has passed on. Now the trick is, he's heard of Osterna in legend from his grandfather, but he's never been there. He doesn't actually know where it is. He knows the general area, but he doesn't know the path to get there. So he won't be able to help them in that aspect. What's happening, though, is that the group is starting to get together, a group of people that, if they ask the right questions, will be able to piece together answers for them. They have Old Man Blade, who knew Spelljammer, who knows in part, maybe not in complete, but in part, why Spelljammer left Vonenheim to begin with. They have the fire giant who knows these stories that his grandfather told him about Austerna and about the worlds and about the trials and about the customs of the place. Then there's also this frost giant. Now he's going to be a lot less willing to speak than the fire giant. He's much older, much more reclusive, much more closed off. And depending on how the conversation goes, it's very likely that he will become actually angry with the fire giant for saying too much to these small men. So I fully expect that to happen. And it may come down to a battle on the deck of the ship against a frost giant. Which, I'm going to be honest, I have no doubt that our crew will wipe the floor with him if it happens. But again, even the fact that he's willing to fight them rather than tell them something should be a clue for them. It should give them some hint that, okay, maybe we're not actually supposed to be involved in this. You know, maybe the giants might not want us involved, or at least some of them might not. And it should serve as a warning for them going to Austerna and make them think maybe we should do this discreetly. Maybe we shouldn't just charge in guns blazing. I have no doubt they probably will, but at least I'll feel better because I've given them a warning. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I'm expecting tonight. Conversation with the fire giant, confrontation with the frost giant, which, I mean, of course, you know, if it comes down to fighting the frost giant, they're fighting the frost giant and his blue dragon. So, I mean, I'm confident they'll win because it's going to happen on the ship, which means they'll be able to bring their cannons to bear on the dragon, which, assuming they can hit him, you know, assuming they don't roll all ones and just constantly miss, if they score some hits on him with their guns, the ship's guns will tear a dragon up. Which is why I'm not worried about presenting it to them as an encounter. Now, maybe I should be, because if the dragon gets a breath attack and a few good claws, it could probably tear through a couple crew members. You know, it could cause death. But I have a feeling somehow that it won't, that it'll be fine. And I'm also not as bothered about causing death right now because they do have a cleric on the ship. And, well, at the level they're at, he can res. So, as long as it's not him that goes down, it's all okay. It's just, at that point, a bit of trauma, a bit of resource, a bit of time, and everything else recalculates from there. I have a feeling that once they've spoken to the fire giant, they're still going to want to plane shift, but that at that point, that is going to become an issue as well, because they've got the fire giant who wants to come with them now as well, because, you know, that's what his goal is. He doesn't want to tell them how to get there and then not get there himself. And he's not leaving his sons behind. So that's 3 fire giants, along with all of them that they need to plane shift. And I'm not sure how many plane shifts they have available a day. I think they have enough to make it, because they're going to have to do multiple plane shifts to do it. But I'm not sure. They had a member of the crew that had unlimited plane shift through an item, but he's gone now. So it's a matter of what they've got available. I think there's 2 or 3 of them that can cast it, though, and they should have it available a couple times. So it's just a matter of if they've prepared it and if they can get good enough directions to lead them. The other thing is going to be that they will, if they try to plane shift into Austerna, they will realize that because of some of the magics on the place, they can't teleport, they can't plane shift straight to Sveltnum's castle, his keep, his whatever you want to call it. They can't teleport directly to Vonenheim. Basically because there are enchantments on the place that prevent giants from passing into certain parts of the sphere. Basically, non-giants can only access the 2 outermost worlds. It may well be that they have a bit of sense and try to plane shift to the sphere opening. The trick there being that they don't have their ship with them, but Vorian does have a shape-shifting item, which can actually become a ship. Now, it's not a Spelljammer. It can't travel between the spheres, but it can fly in space in a sphere. So he could teleport them to the sphere wall and then fly them deeper into the sphere, which would be the safest way to do it. Because in order to approach Vonenheim, they're going to have to complete at least 1 trial each, if not more. There is a way around it, but I don't think they would like it. Basically, anyone that approaches Vonenheim must either have passed through the trial of the giants, or they must be the slave of a giant. And that would have implications. It's not as easy as just saying, oh, well, yeah, I'm his slave today, and then, no, it would actually have to be sworn, and it could actually affect things. So, yeah, then we get to Austerna, where a number of different trials await them. Basically, each world in Austerna is dedicated to a specific type of giant, and each has its own trial. The outermost worlds are for the lowest tiers of giants, and the further into the sphere you go, the more dangerous it will be not to have passed one of the tests. So it's a matter of which tests do they want to undertake, and can they complete them in order to get the blessing of one of the types of giants. I'm not going to say too much more about Austerna because I don't know how far into it they'll get tonight, and I don't want to give anything away if they're watching this after the game. Also, I've just pulled into work, so it's time to stop anyway. Right, have a great day, and I will come back tomorrow and let you know how things went. Like, subscribe, all that stuff, Have a good one.